Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Feeling Seen, the podcast that talks about the movies that make us feel seen. And my co-host for the day, what an honor, what a thrill, what an icon among us. Like an actual icon, not like icon in the way that we're talking about brunch, like icon in like the real sense of the word. You might know them from Drag Race. You might know them from Drag Race All-Stars. You might know them from touring the drag club circuit at another iteration in their career. You might know them now from the HBO show We're Here, which is about to kick off its 4th season, Latrice Royale. What else do the people need to know about you before we get started here?
The large and in charge, Chunky Yip Monkey. Hey!
Fantastic! Drag Race has become the synonymous with drag. It's like sort of like the catch-all to RuPaul's Drag Race. Like, I feel like in the popular imagination has sort of come to encompass the art of drag. But you, as I've seen you talk about in interviews, like you've been doing Drag Race since before that institution started, and your drag career is long and illustrious. So, like, is there, I don't know, does it feel like, does the Drag Race introduction, is it like, listen, yes, it's great, but like there's so much more. I always feel bad headlining with it because I'm like, no, RuPaul's Drag Race is great, but like drag has been around for so long and has taken so many shapes and iterations.
I appreciate you like even just saying that and like putting that out there like that. But let's be real, like the biggest craze in the world is RuPaul's Drag Race.
It's unbelievable.
I wouldn't have this part of my career, I would say, without the success of that show and my appearances on the many iterations after. So, no, totally. I will forever be from RuPaul's Drag Race until... I'm at the next thing already. We're here. I'm here. But like that's the part that I love the most about being a part of the sorority and that sisterhood. Like is in my day it was unique to only a few hundred of us. Now there are like I can't count how many girls there are throughout the world.
Yeah,
but that's what the goal was, is to have a drag takeover, and she has done it.
Well, I mean, it like when it, World of Wonder, it is truly a whole worldwide affair now.
Yeah.
And like, it's amazing. Just, I feel like generations are bridged among the queer community by like young people who have grown up knowing Drag Race existed, who've grown up with Drag Race as an option, and like the elders who have been around and saw the really turn in time of when Drag Race entered the conversation.
100%. Like, I was doing it at a time when it was not so popular to be on, like you were on TV, you were just made fun of. You were on like Jerry Springer or Phil Donahue, who Guess Who's the Man. They're always making, it was always a mockery. It wasn't really nothing serious that's uplifting, that celebrates what we do. So, but we got our life in the clubs, and it was underground, and it was a thing, and you had to go when there was the place, and but now, it's everywhere. Everywhere you go, we're on your television screen, we're on your radios, we're in every facet of life. And so I just love that we've evolved.
Well, and speaking of evolution, you are on the HBO show We're Here Now, which is coming into its 4th season, as we said. And we have had a queen on talking about We're Here in the past. We had Eureka on for, I believe, the first season or the first or second season when the show was new. Yeah. But the format has changed a little bit. It used to be the queens would go to a different town, I think, every episode.
Yeah.
But now you guys are spending more time in fewer cities. Yeah. So tell me about how it's changed a bit.
Well,
as you come in.
Well, that in itself, the format change is a huge part of why this season I think people are going to be like shooketh, because we really get to delve into the nitty gritty, the underneath of why all the fear and hate is happening, where it's stemming from. And like you learn so much more when you get to talk about our drag children. You get more into their lives and their personal hardships that they're going through. And so like I didn't know, like, we're there to make a difference and try to help others.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a healing experience and a revelation for us as well, because we're like,
Mm.
whoa, we really live in a bubble, and
Mm.
we take a lot for granted. But when you get into these little parts of America, these rural parts, there are queer people everywhere.
Yeah.
And you should feel safe and should feel like you can love your home or wherever you're from. And that's not the case in these
Hmm.
places. So it's really important work. It's really good. I think people are gonna be pretty shocked at the reflection
Hmm.
they see, because we're here definitely is that mirror, that
Hmm.
reflection for America to take a look at.
Well, I feel like the premise of it is kind of an interesting inversion of like you said, coming up in clubs, it was underground. You had to, it was the digging through the record crates to find the gems kind of thing. Like you had
Yeah,
to go to the
right.
club, you had to seek it out, you had to know where to go.
Yeah.
But once people found it, they were in this domain, they were in
Hmm.
this protected enclave, and sort
Hmm.
of in this alternate universe. And this is you guys taking the alternate universe into a wider context where you are walking into the diorama as opposed to other people walking into your diorama.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's important that we're able to walk in any space,
Yeah.
like, and feel safe. Like, it should not be an issue. And
Hmm.
what we've done so much hiding our entire lives. We grew up hiding and keeping secrets,
Hmm.
and um, it's a part of our survival. And
Hmm.
like now, we're just at a point where, like, can we just actually just like be real human beings and live our
Yeah.
lives without having to worry about somebody like shooting us or harming us because I
Hmm.
wore a pink shirt and green shoes with a skirt. Who cares,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Talking about like you guys going in as possibility models for these peoples in towns where they might not be expecting you.
Yeah.
I feel like the character that you brought to discuss today, I was hoping to talk about like Vera Walker of Harlem Nights, played by the Della Reese, as a possibility model for you. Like,
Baby,
what was the impact of that
that is
character?
like, she is a no nonsense woman.
Vera, we tally up at 4 o'clock. What is your problem?
Kiss my ass, sugar. I've got to watch my girls until the last trick is gone, and I'm not about to ask no customer to roll over so I can punch some goddamn clock. Now, this is your place, but I am in charge of the girls. And you can just kiss my ass.
Baby, Vera don't play. Vera, you're not gonna talk to Vera any kind of way. Vera
Hmm.
ain't backing down for no fight. In fact, she gonna whoop your ass. Like Vera is not to be toyed with, and she is in charge of the girls. You know what I mean? So, like, for me to have this big, bold, brazen
Hmm.
black woman who is confident and knows how to hold herself in a room with a
Hmm.
room full of men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she ain't backing down. She's just a part of this that everybody else is.
Yeah, I think it is when you first see her character. She's coming in, and Harlem Nights is the story of Richard Pryor, Sugar, and his son, Eddie Murphy, Quick, and they run a bootlegging operation in Harlem. And, it's an Eddie Murphy, so it's a
It's a
comedy.
dramedy.
It's a
Dramedy.
dramedy,
Yeah.
yeah, like caper sort of movie. And it is, gangsters running afoul of one another and stepping on their territory. And Vera Walker, she takes care of the girls. She runs the girls in this bootlegging club, and we meet her with Eddie Murphy basically insulting her, being like, the girls are always falling short, and if you're in charge of the girls, like, the math, the arithmetic is not working if they're always falling short every night. So we meet her being like, I'm gonna kick your ass,
Are you
Eddie Murphy.
accusing me of stealing? Oh no, we got to step out back. Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
I want to know what it is Quick is trying to say.
I ain't trying to say shit. You in charge of the girls, right?
I am in charge of the girls.
Are you in charge of the girls?
I am in charge of the girls.
Okay, the girls are always coming up short. All right, let's get the shit out in the open. The girls are always coming up short. Even when the place is packed, the girls come up short. Now, either you or them got a problem with their arithmetic.
Are you saying I'm stealing?
The man didn't say you was stealing, Vera. Now come on over here and sit down and shut the fuck up.
You shut the fuck up, Benny. I would tell you to kiss my ass too, but you probably can't find it, you blind motherfucker. Me and you got to step out back.
Hey, it was just a misunderstanding.
No it ain't. It ain't no misunderstanding. Quick just accused me of stealing. And if you gonna take up for Quick in here, we can all be some fighting motherfuckers in here this evening. Bring your ass, nigga. Bring it on. Come on. Bring your ass. Come on, get
And
up.
at every turn, he's not taking her seriously. And she's like, no, get your ass out back. Get your ass out back.
We about to do this, for real.
And even she punches him in the face. He punches her back, and she's like, "Yeah, now we're started." So they get going, and then he hits her with a trash can. And she's like, "So we're hitting people with trash cans." So she pulls out a knife. She's like, "I'm gonna cut you apart." And then he's like, "Okay, fuck this, we're done." He pulls out a gun, and he's like, "I will shoot your little toe off." And she dares him. She's standing there with a straight razor, being like, "You." She holds her foot out. She's like, "You shoot my toe off. You shoot my toe off. It's right there."
Quick. There it is. There it is. Go ahead.
Girl, put that razor away. I ain't playing no more. You put that fucking razor away, I'm gonna blow your goddamn pinky toe off.
Oh, now you're gonna shoot me in my pinky toe.
I'm not playing with you. I will blow that little black, gnarled, crusty, dead motherfucker the fuck off your foot. Now put the razor away.
You must be crazy to pull your gun on me.
You gonna be the nine-toe having this limping this bitch in Harlem. You don't stop fucking with me. Now put the razor away.
Well, go ahead. Shoot, here it is. There it is. Shoot, quick, go ahead. Take your best shot.
And how old were you when you experienced Vera for the first time?
Oh, my goodness. What year did Harlem Nights come out? And
that late 80s?
Late 88? I'm like, was that right?
Producer Marissa will save us on this one, I know. But, so yeah, you're...
89.
89.
Right. So right in there, okay.
1989.
So I was maybe 16 to 17. I was about to graduate. I graduated in 90, so I was like 17. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Were Eddie Murphy movies a big part of your house?
Oh, 100%.
Was that a big...
my God, yeah. But I used to watch, I grew up watching his stand-up, like...
Yeah.
Raw.
Yeah,
Raw, and Delirious is the other one?
I think Delirious, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I grew up watching that. And, like, hardcore Eddie Murphy was definitely a part. And Richard Pryor, too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, for sure. These were the dudes that set the tone.
Well... And that was something that because you, as I understand it, you started doing drag in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about the sort of greater entertainment context for a young Black person to start doing drag, or, to pursue an entertainment career, which is essentially what you were doing, at a time when it did feel like there were a multitude of like Black ensemble comedies, Black superstars, Black box office buffo stars that were tentpoles within the landscape. Did you feel like it was a space where it was like, no, I have entertainers that I can look to as people who are doing it in this business?
Yeah, I mean, I just really never thought that I was going to be doing drag. Like, that was not on my radar, at all. Like, I had no idea that this world existed until I saw my first drag show. I was around 16. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I kind of identified with Vera because she reminded me of my mom. Mm. My mom, you don't mess with Shirley either. You know what I mean? Vera and Shirley had a lot in common. The entertainment part, I can't even tell you. I never even saw myself here. I loved being entertained. I loved the arts. I didn't know that there was a space for me because I never saw representation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big part of things too. Like, when you don't see yourself, you can't see yourself. You're like, no, well, that's not going to be me because I don't fit that mold. But then you find that you can create your own lane, and it can be double wide, like mine. Like, but I'm bailing through.
I've listened to interviews where you've talked about when you met your husband, like you drew a very clear line of like, the whole girl, like, familiarity terminology, like that's that's not going to work for me
No.
with the two of us.
Yeah.
And so, there is Latrice, and then there is you out of drag. There is Tim.
Yeah.
And there is Tim. And so what I wondered was, with like a character like Vera Walker, does that serve more for the Latrice aspect of yourself? Or does that work for both Tim and Latrice?
I mean, it works for both. Definitely for Latrice,
Sure.
For sure. But like, if you get into the core of Vera, she's a big softie at heart. You know what I mean? She gives you shit, but she really does. She gonna feed you, give you a hug, kick your ass, and then kiss you later. That's very mean. You know what I mean? But I wanted to make sure that it was clear that we had a relationship with my male side, and that you understood that Latrice, although is a part of me, she over there, and that's not who you're sleeping with at night. And so I would hate for you to ever call me girl or Miss Mama in the throes of passion. You know what I mean? That is that's a boner killer for me, for sure.
Well, has that delineate? I've talked to a number of comedians recently about that sort of delineation between the comedian persona and the stage persona, and then them off mic, then off the stage. And has that always been a clear delineation for you, or have you felt like you have had to reconcile some bleed in terms of like, wow, I need to figure out how to put Latrice away, or has that always been a hard line for you?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. No, I had to reconcile with the bleed because I struggled with losing my male persona as I started doing more drag and people recognizing me as Latrice. And so for a long time, I would really get offended if you called me Latrice out of drag. And definitely don't call me Tim when I'm in drag. It was very that. And now I'm at a point where Latrice is who people know. I know who I am. And I want people to feel comfortable, and if you know me as Latrice, then call me Latrice. But my friends who know me intimately, they call me Tim on the daily, you know what I mean? But they talk about Latrice when they're talking about her, So it's been a learning process for us all, but I don't get hung up too much. I do have a pet peeve about people misspelling my name. If they leave off the E off Royale, we have a problem.
Well, then it's Royal. Then it's not Royale.
Could you please say it again for the back row?
That feels like it's the difference between your name and a different word
entirely. Totally different word. Yeah. So that struggle is real still to this day. I don't mention no names, but after this week, still it happens. So. Yeah.
Well, you I believe it was the season 4 of Drag Race when you won the Miss Congeniality award, and for you saying that, I think it's important to highlight that part of Vera, because I feel like it's very memorable to remember the straight razor and the getting her toe shot off. But one of the later scenes that we see of her, the guys, his father and the people are like, hey, have you apologized to her for shooting her? And he's like, why the fuck would I apologize for that? And they're like, no, I think it really hurt her feelings.
Did you apologize to her yet for shooting her in the foot?
What?
Did you ever apologize to her?
Hey, Suge, I thought the whole thing was supposed to be, forgotten about.
I know she said that, but I think she still was a little hurt.
She still is. I know she don't show it much, but deep down inside, she's a sweet old woman.
Benny, why'd you put this orange juice in the refrigerator with just a swallow left in the container?
Vera, why'd you leave me the hell alone?
But that don't make no sense. You should have just finished it. Don't put it back in the refrigerator with just a swallow in the container. I get my mouth all set for some orange juice, and it's just a swallow in the container.
Well, swallow it and shut the fuck up.
You blind motherfucker.
You fat bitch. You should go talk to her and tell her you're sorry.
Fat bitch.
Yeah, you should.
For them they know her so well and know her so completely, and she's such a matriarch to them. She's in the kitchen making their sandwiches,
making tuna fish sandwiches,
making the tuna fish sandwiches, and pissed off that there's not cans of corned beef like she was promised. That makes me think of, I have a can of corned beef actually in my cabinet, right? Yeah. That canned corn, like I love a corn, but like that canned corned beef, it's a separate craving. It's like canned cran and homemade cran.
Right. I need the can. You can't do the can?
No, give me a can of corned beef that just looks like a plate of cat food and toast. And white toast, and that is...
And just smear it on there. Ooh.
Yeah, that's a perfect breakfast. But she's in there making her tuna sandwiches, and he goes and he does apologize, and she like, screw you with your apology. Like, she kind of admonishes him out of the room, but then she starts to tear up.
Yeah.
And she's like, I love that little old boy. I love him so much.
Hey, Vera, I never said I'm sorry to nobody for nothing that I did. But, I wish what happened never happened, and I appreciate everything you've done for me. And I'm sorry.
Well, you just take your sorry ass on back in there and tell Sugar to send somebody to get some orange juice.
I love you too.
Little old boy. I love that little old boy.
And it's amazing how much character you get from Della Reese's performance in this movie. She's only in select scenes, but it is such an incredible supporting turn because you manage to get such an arc out of her and get so much of her interior life.
100%. 100%. And like, that is so me. Like, there's so many layers beneath, and it all comes from somewhere. And I may not want to express it out loud all the time and tell people the reason why I move a certain way. I just move this way, and this is the way it is. You know what I mean? Because it's life lessons. Like, Della has been through some shit. She had to work hard to get where she is, and she'd be damned if anybody's gonna take it away from her. And that's how I learned how to be a big boss.
Well, and she has this. Yeah, what is the line? I'm an honest hoe, and
all
of my
hoes
hoes
is honest.
Yeah.
And all my hoes is honest.
Well, and it really because the initial conflict between her and Eddie Murphy, it's like one over her integrity.
Yeah,
like he says, sorry, the math's not working. Yeah, the math isn't working out, and you're accusing me implicitly of stealing. So I'm gonna beat the shit out of you because. All she has is her word. Like, all she has is the integrity of being Vera.
That's it. Your word is your bond. That's it. That's all you got.
And do you find that in the industry that you're like, I feel like one of the most wonderful parts of people being able to experience drag through Drag Race is it's a competitive show, but there typically is a strong sense of, like you said, a sorority and community and helpfulness and hyping each other up in support. So, but like it's still close quarters with a lot of the same people. Like within a sorority, within a school, within a community, there's going to be tensions and things. And entertainment is a context that only amplifies every tension when it feels like there's something on the line that could be yours that maybe it goes to somebody else. And I wanted to know if how has the process been of maintaining that sense of integrity and word as bond in an industry that kind of asks you implicitly or explicitly at a lot of turns to be like, but if you didn't have that integrity, you could have this. And there's a lot of incentive to not necessarily one's word is their bond.
Correct. That's why.
In favor of quick returns, of course.
I mean, of course. And this is why I didn't win Drag Race. So, I can't be less than who I am. And like for any amount of money, I can't do it. I can't fake it. And I'm an actor. I can act a lot of different ways, but I'm not gonna act a fool. I'm not gonna do that. You know what I mean? And so you just have to realize like what's for you and what's not for you. And Drag Race has opened a lot of doors for me. It has opened a lot of windows, and people could see me and see themselves represented, and that's important. So I'm grateful. And it was so funny because we were doing press, we were doing the Sky TV gig, and I think we were doing an Entertainment Weekly interview. But I'm sitting with Sasha, Priyanka, Jada, they're like, yeah, we're all winners here. And then they looked at me and they're like, no, she's the winner without the crown. I'd rather have the respect of my peers.
That's so validating.
Means more to me than any kind of, I can buy a crown, baby, but you can't buy respect. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so like, that's all that matters to me. I know what I do. I know what I bring and I know what I give. And so I'm not good at game shows. Sorry.
Yeah, like I'm good with words, but I'm bad at word puzzles.
That's
so like,
that
doesn't mean I can't talk you under the table.
I mean, baby, hello. This is why you have podcast, okay?
Well, and I wondered what, like, we had somebody come on. We had a woman come on, Liza Powell O'Brien, and she talked about Tootsie and how seeing Tootsie, I believe it was in high school, was a really kind of important impact on her because she was like, oh, wait, like being a lady is just putting on an act. Like, really I don't have to be like I'm a young girl, but like to be a woman in the world, like it's just putting on the best performance I can for people to believe me. And I wanted to talk to you about like how, like Vera Drake and characters like that, and perhaps other like possibility or role models that you saw like in fiction. Was there, when did you kind of come keen to the awareness that like, wait, gender is a performance?
Wow. Yeah, it took me a minute to realize that, like, because we put so much stress on gender, and then you get, you complicate that with doing drag, and then they sexualize drag, and then that has nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? Neither one of those have anything to do with the other. And so like it took me a minute to realize that like this is all performance. This is all like RuPaul says, we're born naked and the rest is drag. It is so true. Like we put on what drag you want to wear. How do you want to represent today? What do you want to look like? If you got to go to a corporate meeting or interview, you dress the part.
Yeah.
You're going to a Met Gala, you dress the part. Life is all about how you want to represent and present yourself, and you dress the part for that. And what goes on between your legs and underneath your clothes is your business. And it shouldn't be a concern what your outer appearance looks like. It really should.
Do you find when you're encountering people out, like making We're Here, does imparting that perspective, is it a surprising thing for people to hear? Or is it something they've maybe heard but they don't really take seriously? How is that ethos greeted by people that you might be, in a position of being like a teacher, like educator figure for them? Because it's easy for me to forget that not everybody's terminally online. So like what I consider very normative language around like gender and sexuality and queerness at this point, like I know that it's not normed for people, like you said, outside of the the very lucky bubbles that some of us can live in sometimes.
I mean, like, okay, we have a lot more language than we used to. So, if you're an old timer, if you're, you're coming from a different generation where it was just straight, gay, bi, you don't understand what the rest of these letters mean. You're like, well, what? What is all that?
Yeah.
And we have grown because we have more language. We can identify people and let others know that there are more people like you and you're not alone.
Yeah.
And I think that's the importance of educating people about identity and how. But I can watch people's brains freeze, as we go into these rural areas who don't get it. They're just like, well, I come from a time when, and you hear the accent I put on, but it's appropriation because that's what it was. You know what I mean? And I feel like ignorance is a choice, especially in this day and age. And some people just don't want to grow. They want to live in their bubble. They want to live the life that they know and are comfortable with. And anything outside of that scares them. And it's ridiculous.
How has your learning process been as the acronym window has opened up and have you found yourself in a position where someone's like, I don't need to know about all that. I'm just fine with whatever you are. Or is it like, tell me, teach me, educate me, young people on like, how have you greeted those kind of situations? Because like you said, you're a veteran. You've been at this for a long time.
I'm one of the old schoolers. I got to tell you, I was a little bit like, it was a struggle for me at first because I didn't understand. You know, but then it became, and I'll tell you why, I don't know, I don't care if this is unpopular opinion or not. It became an issue for me because it got aggressive. And it became not like you're trying to educate. Everything was an attack. And it's like, no, we're not attacking you. I'm looking at what I'm looking at. And I see what I see. And this is how you present. And so I addressed you as such. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful.
Right, yeah.
I don't know your internal struggle. I don't know. But what I see is a man. So if you're non-binary or a trans woman, I don't see that. I'm sorry. So that no one's accustomed to going around and saying, what are your pronouns? No one's accustomed to doing that. It's a new way of living and life. And so it's going to be a slow burn, and people are going to have to be people are already not real keen on change, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's hard to swallow. And so if you're attacking them at every turn for misgendering you, they're going to be more prone not to want to participate. Yeah.
Well, no, and that just made me think of, like, you know, my own family back in my hometown. I come from a little town in Oregon, and I feel like people from where I'm from would be more able to hear you out and listen to you as somebody who doesn't present how they would expect if you were all in drag, but you're like, listen, here's been my experience. Like, I feel like that imparts a perspective to them where they understand that you see them in their challenge to confront this shift. And so I hope that can be an access point for people who might come from a place of resistance, where they can be like, okay, well, yeah. No, like, I know what you mean when you say that, because I feel the same way. And you're like, yes, but I'm willing to catch up.
I'm willing to, that's the only thing.
So,
that's the difference.
So catch up with me.
That's
like,
it.
Let's just do it together.
Let's do it together, baby. It's going to be a little bit of work, but you're going to be all fine. You're going to be fine. It's like, we'll learn how to work a new microwave, baby. It's just, you know, oh, get the button over here this time. That's it. That's all.
It's time for a quick break, but I'll be back with more from Latrice Royale. And then I'll have one quick thing before I go about the new little movie, Humane. So stick around for that.
Hi, this is Biz, and this is the final season of One Bad Mother, a comedy podcast about parenting. This is going to be a year of celebrating all that makes this podcast and this community magical.
I'm so glad that I found your podcast.
I just cannot thank you enough for just being the voice of reason as I'm trying to figure all of this out.
Thank you, and cheers to your incredible show and the vision you had to provide this space for all of us.
This is still a show about life after giving life. And yes, there will be swears. You can find us on MaximumFun.org. And as always, you are doing a great job.
All right, class, tomorrow's exam will cover the science of perfect pitch, the history of pride flags, and speedrunning video games. Any questions? Yes, you in the back.
What is this?
It's the podcast Let's Learn Everything,
where we learn about science and a bit of everything else.
My name's Tom. I study cognitive and computer science, but I'll also be your teacher for intermediate emojis.
My name's Caroline, and I did my master's in biodiversity conservation, and I'll be teaching you intro to things the British Museum stole.
My name's Ella. I did a PhD in stem cell biology, so obviously I'll be teaching you the history of fan fiction.
Classmates every other Thursday on Maximum Fun.
So do I still get credit for this?
No.
Obviously not.
No.
It's a podcast.
Welcome back to Feeling Seen. I'm talking with drag superstar Latrice Royale, who is one of the hosts of the brand new season of HBO's We're Here. As we've discussed, when out of drag, Latrice is known to friends as Tim. We've been talking about all of that and what it has to do with Della Reese in Harlem Nights. So let's get back to it. Are you still learning from Latrice in your life as Tim and vice versa? Or do you feel like the relationship is so sort of such a handshake at this point that it's like, no, we're we're in each other's, or is it like, I'm still taking lessons from this person and growing from that extension of me every day?
100% that. Like, every day is a journey and every day is, somewhat of a struggle because, you have different voices that's telling you different things, lies mostly, and you have to combat that in some kind of way. And so like you have to channel, thank God I got my superhero costume over, and I can get on stage and feel my oats and remember who I am, and then that fuels Tim. It fuels Tim because Tim is the catalyst. He's the one making it all happen. So, we're intertwined, but I'm definitely learning and taking things from both sides of my personas to navigate through my life because, baby, it's hard. It's hard. Yeah. The struggle is real. Yeah. And you got to have a lot of patience and got to give yourself a lot of grace. And that's what I want people to do. Start giving themselves a lot more grace. I talk about that in my one-woman show. Stop being so hard on yourself. Stop beating yourself down and lift yourself up sometime. Go get an ice cream cone and shut up. You know what I mean? Like, girl, like, it's okay. For me, it's crab legs. Like, I'll do a seafood boil and I'll feel on top of the world. You know what I mean? So do something that makes you feel
Can't
good.
blame you for that. God, I think if somebody did a seafood boil for me, I would also feel on top of the world.
I'm telling you, and I do it the best. I'm telling you, better ask. I'm legendary.
May I ask what is the secret to your legend status with is it spices?
Oh,
like
well,
what is
that is definitely one of the keys, but I put so much love. I mean, I make sure that every cluster has been touched by me by buttering each cluster and season it with Old Bay. Each cluster and I steam mine. I don't boil them because you got to steam them so you can let that butter run all down through the crab leg. And so when you, baby, see, your mouth is watering, ain't it? Look at you. I'm sorry.
Nothing will satiate me now.
And then I got my smack 'em up sauce that I make that's telling you, girl.
I completely believe you. Oh God. Well, and I when I was watching Harlem Nights and like seeing Vera Walker, like I started thinking about like so many of the gay men in my life, the queer men in my life, like the sort of people that they fixed most onto watching film growing up were often these matriarch figures, these diva matriarch figures, or femme fatales, or final girls, like in horror films. And I wanted to just hear from you a bit about these classes of actor, of actress, of character, and their power in helping provide for, not so much anymore. There's more options for people to see themselves specifically, but I wanted to hear about sort of growing up with sort of having to imprint on female characters a lot of times. It's like sort of the closest conduit you could get to as like a young queer person, a young queer male.
Like all of everything that you're describing, it just resembled what my mother was going through. She was my superhero, really, because that was the strongest woman I knew. Like people could never, understand the strength of what Shirley could do. And so like I kind of gravitated towards strong female, roles in film anyway, because I'm like, because I was rooting for them because they're always the underdog or mistreated or just like in Dreamgirls, like, I'm rooting for Effie, of course. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, like, I love to see the strength and determination of a strong woman in any aspect. And that's kind of like how I model my drag, as that figure, as a strong woman. Yeah.
And what were, I mean, I guess I'm curious then, like, what were some, like, did your mom share movies with you? Like, what were things that, did she have certain ones that she loved that would play in the house?
Like, it's wild because, like, my mother worked 2 and 3 jobs. So it was hard.
The luxury of just sitting down and watching a movie.
That was not something that happened. And so what she did enjoy was her soap operas and her westerns when she had time to watch those, you know. And Murder, She Wrote, you know. But
did you grow up on soaps?
She did, yeah. My mother, I never got into soap. I mean, on sick days when I was home from school, I would watch them because there was nothing else on TV. But my mother I would hear her on the phone talking to my aunt. And I swear they are talking about somebody's like that. Like I just knew somebody at the church was having an affair or somebody because they are going in gossiping. And girl, did you hear that to such and such? And I'm like, they talking about General Hospital and what at the what turn? What Ryan's Hope? What?
I think that's that is such a perfect example of like how much these figures that we see can mean to us. Mm-hmm. Like how much of our lives we can invest in their lives, and how if we feel out to sea in not finding ourselves in places, how much when we can finally latch onto certain figures, it can be such a life preserver because you can invest conversations with friends for hours.
And now it's like Housewives of Atlanta, you know, for us. Yeah. That's our new soap opera. That's who we watching, you know. Mm-hmm. But it's very that. You have this whole like viewing parties and social clubs talking about soap operas or films and it's hilarious to me that we invest so much into these fictional characters.
Well, and now that, like, I feel like in a way, like, that's a way that people can invest in Latrice. Like, you go to, like, reading about the details of your drag competition history, like, on TV, it's a wiki. It's a wiki that is a fully built out resource. And it's like tracking professional athletes. Here are their stats. Here are their trophies. Here are their movements. Here are their known associations. Here are the teams that they've been on. Like, you are now, it's such a fascinating career because it's like in the way that music stardom is different than film stardom, where it's people latching on to the individual themselves versus a character. It is like this amalgamation of both as a drag artist, and it's like a most intimate form with also the most like incredibly high-end masquerade form of entertainment possible. And that's such a fascinating way for people to attach onto you and your story and your life.
I didn't think about it like that. Like, there you go. You sure said that.
There you go. There you are.
No, it's true, I guess. Like, I just never looked at it like that. But when you put it like that, it's kind of true. I mean, like, if you knew how many drag race fantasy leagues I'm tagged in on Instagram. Like,
seriously,
it's wild. I'm like, I'm in another pageant. Okay, let's see how did I do this time?
And like drag nights at bars, like watching Drag Race at bars, like that's getting together and watching Sunday Night Football.
It really is the Super Bowl of drag. Like RuPaul's Drag Race, 100%, 100%.
I guess one of my getting toward wrapping up would be like, starting when you did with having drag be such a local and of the moment experience, how has your sort of relationship with it evolved? Or I guess, and when did you recognize the sort of shift over that it wasn't local anymore? Oh. It could now be global.
Yeah.
Like your YouTube channel and like putting out music videos and those are available on YouTube. Like suddenly it's like, oh shit, drag can reach anybody at the click of a few mouse clicks, a few, keystrokes. And it's like, oh God, like this has exploded. Like, was there any sort of like, I'm going to think about this. I'm like, I want to adjust my perspective on this, or how has that been to evolve through kind of the invention of the fucking Model T?
Right. Right. It's very that. Like we come to drag before phones and before Instagram, before social media, before everything. Like we have flip phones. We can send text by pressing the button 3 times to get a letter,
Yeah.
But to like come through this, like I was well into my season 4 when Instagram came out.
Wow.
Like, come on. Like, it was like, I was even on Instagram. In fact, Fifi O'Hara was the person who set up my Instagram for me. We were on the cruise in Cozumel. And she's like, "You're not on Instagram?" I'm like, "No, I don't even know what that is." And so that was when everybody was on Vine and doing Vine. Like, we evolved through the social media, but like coming through that and trying to stay relevant and seeing how accessible drag was to people is literally at your fingertips. And once I realized that, and I started touring the world and people knowing me and knowing that they're having, before Drag Race was global, people were download this file illegally or whatever, and then they'll have viewing parties. And that's how you got it. Like, if you didn't have the link or you weren't at the party, you didn't see Drag Race. But they were huge events all over the world because it wasn't so accessible. And it's just wild to see how we've grown and evolved, and now a superstardom and drag has taken over the world.
And so I guess my last question then would be, with how the delivery vehicles have changed and with how the sort of scope of access has changed, what about drag is still the core of it for you? That is like, this is why I chose to do this and this is why I still do this.
For me, it's always the mission of inspiring, motivating people, making sure that they understand that they are valid and loved and they're worthy. And
so that mission has always felt very present for you.
100%.
Okay, yeah.
So this is why I do what I do. And so I'll continue to do it. And I'm able to do so. We're here, thank God. And just this expanding global reach, which is amazing.
Well, Latrice, thank you so much for being one of the veterans. Thank you so much for the institutional knowledge and experience and history that you carry and share and are, and for taking the time and being with us today. I very much appreciate it.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you again to Latrice Royale. What an honor. What a privilege. Season 4 of We're Here just premiered, and alongside Latrice this season has Sasha Velour, Priyanka, and Jada Essence Hall as its drag co-hosts, co-stewards. And you can check that out on Max. And now I have one quick thing before we log off, and that is, we're back on that support independent cinema beat, my friends. There is a little movie that has entered the world. It is called Humane, and it is directed by a filmmaker whose name should ring a couple of bells. Her name is Caitlin Cronenberg, and what a productive family those Cronenbergs are. Caitlin, the elder David, the brother Brandon, just populating our genre film ecosystem with little strange treasures, and we're all better for it. Humane is the story of a world very similar to the one we live in right now, but that has actually reached the threshold of environmental collapse, where resources have become so scarce that the world must winnow down its population by 20% in order for the remaining 80% out of that number to live off the resources available to us. And there has popped up an industry of voluntary submission for disposal, execution, where one's family is monetarily rewarded for your sacrifice. So it's created this kind of cottage industry of calling it quits in order to help your family and, be a part of the solution. So we enter the world in Humane of this is a hits of Canada. It's a Cronenberg movie. It's got Emily Hampshire from Schitt's Creek. It's got Jay Baruchel. We love to see it. And hey, perennial awesome guy Enrico Colantoni is here as Bob, the representative from the human disposal service. But we enter a family's dinner party. The patriarch of this family, played by just an ever-dashing Peter Gallagher. His name is Charles York. He's an esteemed public figure and a newsman. And his wife, Dawn, have decided, she was a famous chef, they've decided that they are gonna do the right thing, quote-unquote right thing. They're gonna take one for the team. They are going to give their lives, and they have put together a lavish dinner party that seems to be made of illegally procured food, to tell their kids in this dysfunctional family that they're dying today. And that's the way it's going to be, and this is for the good of everybody. And things go a little hinky when Dawn decides, actually, I can't do this, flees the scene. Charles, after being leaned on by Bob, in a little private aside, also, he commits to the contract because he's like, hey, I wouldn't want people to find things out about you. So Charles is like, oh yeah, it's the right thing to do. I'm definitely gonna die. But then after one of the York children's parents is gone, the contract is for 2 bodies, as Enrico Colantoni's Bob tells them. They are owed 2 bodies. So that means the family now will have to lock themselves in and decide who's going. Who's the one that we're going to take to fulfill that body contract? Well, as you would suspect, that contract's not like super above board, and the work that Bob does is a little bit shady. So there are some ins and outs and what have yous, which is why you got to tune into Humane. You got to figure out what's the shady business going on. You got to figure out who in this family will turn on the others. Will they all turn on each other? Will there be double crossings or alliances or cocktail of all of the aforementioned? And it's fun. It's fun. It's a quick watch. It's a good punchy energy. And if you like the dystopian subgenre of we're all going to die at the hands of our own indulgences and mismanagement of this world, it's a little kick. It's a little kick of a time. I do highly recommend it. Congratulations to Kaylin Cronenberg for bringing us more of Canada's best. You know, we can never really have enough of that. And that is our show, going out on Canada's best. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at FeelingSeenPod, or send us an email at feelingseen@MaximumFun.org. If you want to follow me, I am JorCrew on Twitter. That's JORCRU. Our theme music is by Andrew Epen. The show is produced by Marissa Flaxbart. Our senior producers are Kevin Ferguson and Laura Swisher, and this is a production of Maximum Fun.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows,
supported
directly
by you.